Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here in Cairo, online, not presential, which is a pity. We're going to speak a little about NAFLD and diabetes, fat liver disease and diabetes. I am endocrinologist. I work in the Portuguese Diabetes Association, and I am too president of the Ernesto Roma Foundation. During the past century, dramatic modifications of lifestyle have radically changed health priorities in most areas of the world, owing to a growing incidence of non-communicable disease. NAFLD is one of the most important causes of liver disease worldwide and will probably emerge as the leading cause of end-stage liver disease in the coming decades. NAFLD is an umbrella for a range of liver conditions affecting people who drink little to no alcohol. The main characteristic of NAFLD is too much fat stored in liver cells associated with insulin resistance. Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, NASH, a potential serious form of disease, is marked by liver inflammation, which may progress to scarring and irreversible damage, fibrosis. At its most severe, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis can progress to cirrhosis, carcinoma, and liver failure. NAFLD is a silent condition and certain escalations under estimated prevalence, extra burden for the development of metabolic conditions, asymptomatic until advanced stage, barriers to diagnosis, and direct markers do not provide a real prognosis. Causes of NAFLD. We don't know exactly why some people accumulate fat in the liver while others do not. NAFLD and NASH are both linked to the following: overweight or obesity, insulin resistance, high blood sugar, high levels of fats. Several studies show that NAFLD is an independent risk factor for incident, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular disease. In persons with NAFLD, screening for diabetes is mandatory by fasting or radon, blood glucose, or A1C, and, if available, OGTT, and in high-risk groups. In patients with type 2 diabetes, the presence of NAFLD should be locked for irrespective of liver enzymes levels, since type 2 diabetes are at high risk of disease progression. And what about the prevalence of NAFLD? The global prevalence of NAFLD is currently estimated 24%. In the Middle East, we have 32%, South America 31%, Asia 27%, USA 24%, Europe 23%, Africa 40%, and increase to up to 40 to 70% in people with type 2 diabetes. And what about the prevalence of NAFLD in many populations? As you can see in this slide, in the Middle East, overall, we have 32% of people with NAFLD. And if you go to people with type 2 diabetes, we found 67% with the NAFLD. And in Egypt, where we are now, among school children, we have 16% with NAFLD. The main complication of liver disease in progressions to non-alcoholic steatohepatitis is cirrhosis, which is in late stage scarring, fibrosis in the liver. We see this picture starting with the half liver to a situation of cirrhosis. The step between NASH and NAFLD and NASH, it could be reversible, but the step between NASH and cirrhosis is irreversible. What is the fat in our body? We know that 75% is subcutaneous, 10-15% is visceral, and we have more or less 10-15% ectopic. Ectopic fat accumulates in the liver, heart, intestine, and skeletal muscle. Let's see the balance, the energy balance to ectopic fat. If we have a positive energy balance, we have a buffering of excess energy in health adipose tissue, the exhaustions of the buffering capacity of adipose tissue. We have a lipid accumulation in the liver, muscle, and the epicardium, and starting with the metabolic abnormalities. From energy balance to ectopic fat. This is what happened in several places. In the muscle, more insulin resistance, less mitochondrial function. In the liver, more insulin secretion, more beta cell apoptosis, type 2 diabetes. In the heart, cardiac insulin resistance and less mitochondrial function. And in the liver, we have more insulin resistance and less insulin occurrence. So we have a lot of adipocyte dysfunction. NAFLD is associated with multiple conditions: type 2 diabetes, vascular disease, obstructive sleep apnea, CVD, cardiovascular disease, malignancy, and cerebrovascular. And about the NAFLD diagnosis criteria: presence of hepatic steatosis, no significant alcohol consumption, no competing etiologies. How we can detect and diagnose NAFLD? By ultrasound, CT, and MR, hydrogen 1 proton MRS, and fibroscan. Fat liver index, steato test, or NAFLD liver fibrosis score. Sero biomarkers, hepatic enzymes. Diagnosis by hepatic biopsy. Liver biopsy should be considered in patients with NAFLD who are in increased risk of having NASH or fibrosis. NASH detection and diagnosis. NASH has to be diagnosed by liver biopsy, showing steatosis, hepatocyte ballooning, and lobular inflammation. Fat liver index is an algorithm based in the waist circumference, body mass index, triglyceride, and GGT for the prediction of fat liver, and is easy to employ as each individual component must be a routine in clinical practice. We can find easily in the internet a calculator for fat liver index. We can find easily in the internet too an NAFLD fibrosis score. It's very easy to fill and very quickly we found a result. NAFLD interventions effectiveness. Lifestyle interventions is beneficial for patients with NAFLD, improving not only liver disease but also hyperglycemia, atherogenic dyslipidemia, and blood pressure levels. Reduction in hepatic steatosis by lifestyle interventions is reported in the range of 5 to 50%. In case other risk factors are present, the intervention may also begin with an added pharmaceutical approach. Is it all about weight loss? Lifestyle intervention, being diet or exercise, seem to produce effects on NAFLD and NASH proportional to weight loss generated. Pharmacological intervention that produces similar effects seem likewise associated to weight loss. Also the same about gastric surgery. And what about nutritional recommendation? We have a lot of nutrition recommendation which are not very easy to follow. We have several off-label pharmacologic treatments like metformin, pioglitazone, liraglutide, vitamin E. We have drugs in phase 2 for NASH. We have in phase 3 trials for NASH 2. We have several drugs from Gilead in clinical program in trials. Celocerbid, where was great hope, was stopped last year. Finally, we have in investigation in phase 2 a new drug from Lilly, which is tirzepatide. Tirzepatide is a combining of between GIP and GLP-1. Tirzepatide show significant reduction of A1C and weight in patients with type 2 diabetes, as well improvements in markers of NASH in patients with type 2 diabetes. Well, take-home messages. The liver stores excessive nutrients. As fat, NAFLD is a silent condition, generally undiagnosed and unaddressed, and clinicians tend to undervalue in its practice. Type 2 diabetes and NAFLD are the reciprocal risk factors and constitute the vicious cycle. Hepatic fat accumulation changes not only liver metabolism but also impact other organs. Lifestyle change, hypocaloric diet and exercise target NAFLD proportional to weight loss, although effects can be seen easily. Thank you very much for your attention.